All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're talking about a massive update for Azure Files that honestly completely changes the game for cloud storage costs and flexibility. If you're working in Azure, you're going to want to pay close attention to this.
So, have you ever been in that spot? You're trying to set up your file storage, and you feel stuck. You need performance, but to get it, you have to buy a ton of capacity you'll never use. It's this classic, frustrating trade-off.
For the longest time, this was just the way it was. If your applications demanded high performance, well, that meant you were also paying for a whole lot of storage space that was just sitting there empty. It was a really common and, a very expensive headache for a lot of people. I love this analogy because it's just so perfect. You needed that one slice, the performance, but the only way to get it was to buy the whole pizza. You're stuck paying for all this extra capacity that you don't want and you don't need. Okay, so to really get why this new V2 model is such a big deal, we have to quickly look back at the old ways of doing things, the two pricing models that came before it, and kind of see where they fell short. First up was the pay-as-you-go model. It sounds flexible, right? But the problem was budgeting became a total nightmare. You were getting billed for every single transaction, and trying to predict those, almost impossible. Your costs could just spiral out of control. So then you had provisioned V1. This gave you predictable costs, which was great, but it came with its own major problem. If you needed more speed, say for something like FSLogic's profiles in a virtual desktop setup, your only move was to buy more storage capacity, even if that pricey capacity was just going to sit there totally empty. But thankfully, that all changes with the new provisioned V2 model. And look, this is not just a small update. It's a complete, fundamental shift in how Azure Files is priced and managed. It puts so much more granular control right back in your hands. The whole idea behind V2 is actually incredibly simple, but it's so powerful. Instead of bundling all the resources together, it just decouples them. And that means you are no longer forced into making those frustrating trade-offs we talked about. And this right here shows you the crucial difference. In the old V1 world, storage, IOPS, which is basically your performance, how fast you can read and write, and throughput were all locked together. But now, with V2, you can configure each one of those completely independently. You can fine-tune your storage to perfectly match your actual workload. And this V2 model is now the official recommendation from Microsoft for everything, whether you're using premium SSDs or standard hard drives. And check out the new range. The minimum share size is way smaller now, which is perfect for things like container volumes, while the maximum size has more than doubled. That opens up some brand new possibilities for massive archives. So the big question, what does all this new flexibility actually mean for your cloud bill? Well, for the right kind of workloads, the savings can be absolutely dramatic. I mean, look at that, a 66% cost reduction. So how on earth is that possible? It all comes down to one simple thing. You can finally right-size your performance and your capacity, instead of just wildly over-provisioning one to get the other. Okay, let's take a really common example, a database. It needs high performance, say 20,000 IOPS, but it doesn't actually need a lot of space. In the old V1 model, you'd have to provision over 20 terabytes of storage you didn't need just to get that performance target. With V2, you provision only the 4 terabytes you actually need, and then you just dial up the IOPS independently. And that's how you get these incredible savings. And hey, it's not just for databases. Look at container storage, where you might need hundreds of tiny little shares. You can see an 80% cost reduction there, mostly thanks to that smaller minimum size. Even things like hot archives, which need to be fast but don't need constant high performance, see really significant savings. This model just gives you unprecedented control. You can adjust performance for seasonal demand, maybe ramp things way up for a big data migration, and then, and this is the most important part, you can scale it right back down to save money. You can even hook it into Azure Monitor to keep a close eye on usage and make sure you're always optimized. Okay, so that's the what and the why. Let's walk through how to actually put this thing into practice. Setting up your next V2 file share is, you'll be happy to hear, very straightforward. When you're in the Azure portal creating a new storage account, you just need to make sure you select Azure Files as the primary service. Then, the most crucial step, you choose Provisioned V2 as the billing model. That's what unlocks the new interface where you can specify each of those components, storage, IOPS, and throughput, separately. So, what's the big pattern here? What's this really for?
It's for any workload where your performance needs and your capacity needs just don't scale together. Whether it's those high-speed databases or enterprise apps like SAP, or even thousands of tiny container shares, V2 now offers a truly tailored and cost-effective solution for all of them.
So with this level of savings and this kind of flexibility now on the table, it really is the perfect time to take a hard look at your Azure Files strategy. The V2 model doesn't just lower your bill, it gives you the freedom to build storage the way your applications actually demand it. The only question left is, what are you going to build with it?